What's going on, guys? So I wanted to make this video today talking about passing and receiving the ball. I noticed that a lot of people are still having some issues when it comes to locking the ball down, or they're doing things like when the ball comes into their area, they'll just immediately kick it without any kind of direction or idea of what they're trying to do with it. So this is just to clarify and give some context on how to do this, and not only how to do it, but how to do it effectively and accurately. So the first thing I want to go over is the controls. So if you go to press option, pull up the with the ball options, you see everything you can do when you have the ball. Now everything besides dribble stance, I believe, you can do when it as an option when the ball is landing at your feet or coming in your direction, right? You just have to have priority. Having priority just means that you press your option, whatever you might have chosen to do, before someone else did in that area. And you also are positioned in a way where whatever it is that you do choose to do takes priority over that move. So certain moves will kind of counter others, kind of like a fighting game, right? So when we're thinking about that, as far as receiving the ball, right, there are a couple of different options you have. So you have what I would call locking down the ball. So just bringing the ball to you, so accepting the pass and moving on into the next thing as far as like maybe like dribbling, whatever. So one of the first options I think is the superior option when it comes to locking down the ball, I think, is your rainbow flick option. Now, why do I think this is the most effective one? Well, there are two things that happens when you choose the rainbow flick option to lock down the ball. First thing is the ball can stay airborne depending on the timing of the pass, right? So if someone tries to tackle the ball, they are base tackle the ball or slide tackle, correct? The point of contact with the ball and the opponent's feet is no longer an issue simply because the ball is airborne. So that option to take the ball away from you doesn't work. Now, they can, if they happen to get to you at enough time, use their own rainbow flick to secure the ball, or even pass the ball to someone if they choose to do a spacebar push or one of the lob options. But because you have also the option to choose where you want to push the ball at with the rainbow flick, you can go left, right, back, and kind of clear whoever it is that you're trying to get around. So on top of the fact that you will automatically be magnetized to the ball when you do the rainbow flick, as opposed to if you were to use the spacebar push option. Yes, you can use your boost to get to it, but using an option that preserves your spacebar, preserves your stamina, I think it's stronger than having to use it. Yes, it's quick and it can come back if managed properly, but I think being able to preserve it as much as possible stands out more and is more effective. So I would rather, if I'm thinking of locking the ball down, I would 100% choose using the rainbow flick as an option over the push, right? When it comes to passing in that situation, in that scenario, right, you have every option as far as push, your right click. If you're on mouse and keyboard, you have your, once again, your space push, so your space bar push, but you also have your lobs. Now I feel like the lobs are underutilized when it comes to this. Now you have a far and close lob, so depending on the positioning of your teammates, you could use these options to really get the ball to someone. Now, why do I think these things are really strong and just underutilized? Well, for starters, they provide more arch when you are sailing the ball, right? And because of that arch and because of that travel, that bounce, it for one keeps the ball more airborne and prevents the enemy from being able to try and catch the ball themselves if it's high enough, right? So whereas if I were to do the same thing with the right click, it goes to the ground faster and almost as if they're aiming it towards the ground, on top of the fact that, so you can see there wasn't a lot of arch put into it. So anyone with the right timing could stop it. Now, anyone with the right timing could stop it if you do the lob, but I feel like it's much harder because it goes up and out and not just out, correct? So it's like when you're doing the space, when you're doing the right click option, it just goes out. Whereas if you're doing the lob option, it goes up and out, right? Now, sometimes the character will still jump if you do the right click option, if you time it, but it will 100% jump and it will 100% go up and out if you do the any of the lobs. So whether it's short or far. So you just have, from that point, have to determine which one it'll be based on positioning of your teammates, right? Now, when it comes to doing the lob options, right, or even the right click option on mouse and keyboard, things get a little bit dicey because of how they make the aiming. Now, most people just opt to just play on controller and just say fuck it, right? For me, I'm not good with controller mechanically, and even though I force myself to try and use it, I can be decent. It's not enough for me. Like, I prefer mouse and keyboard. It works better for me. Even for things like FPS games, it works better for me. So what I found, it's actually easier to pass the ball accurately if I flick my mouse in the direction I want to send it at the last second that I'm actually going to receive the ball. So what does that look like? So if I send it and I know I'm going to pass it, at the very, like, that split second window before the ball makes contact with me, I flick the mouse in that direction, right? And this can be made to go even easier and give you more priority if you buffer the move. So buffering, what does that mean for people who don't know? It just means prepping that move out before the moment of execution comes. So how do you execute that? You just honestly hold the button that you're going to do, the option that you're going to use. You hold that button. You can actually hold that button before the ball gets to you. So I'll show you right here. I'm holding the button before it even gets to me. I'll even demonstrate it with it being further and higher. So do like that. I've already started holding the button before it even the icon pops up that I can get it. So the icon, what I'm talking about, that little icon right there, that diamond, that means that you're close enough to anything that you press automatically will draw you to the ball, right? So before that option even comes up, I've already held onto the button the option that I'm going to use in that situation, depending on what's going on. Sometimes I can just let it drop to my feet if I don't have any defenders on me, right? But in a heated situation, if I'm being surrounded and I'm being kind of kept out and stuff, that's usually what I will do is I will prep that button, I will buffer that button, and then at the very last second, flick my mouse in the direction that I want to go. So that just takes some practice and getting used to, but now for me, it's just second nature. So I can pass just as easily, if not better, than I could on controller. Once again, it's just me. I recommend going into the open field and practicing that mechanic. Now, I want to talk about mindset and a couple of tips that might make receiving the ball and passing the ball just a little bit easier and tie it together. Now that you understand how to use the tools, right? Or what the mechanics are for executing the tools. So the first one being positioning, right? Now I'm sure if you've watched any other tutorials about positioning and about anything else, you know that you need to try and kind of predict or anticipate where you should be to get the ball or to stop the ball based on the information that you see on the field from what you're seeing right now and what you see on your mini map to the bottom right. All that information is going to give you, all that stuff is going to give you information about where the ball is going to be and how it's going to, and what the trajectory is. There was actually a tutorial that showed me that if you look at the mini map, you would actually see a line when the ball is airborne where it's going to end up. So if you're in the general area of where you think the ball might go, you can actually kind of cut that ball off if you end up being close enough to the proper prediction that you might have had. Now, to follow up on that, how do you get to that position? Say you have two different options and it's going to be one of these two, and he passes it to, say, the one on the right. How do I get there fast enough if someone's already there? Well, this is where meter management comes in. Now, I have a background in fighting games. Most fighting games utilize meters, so I understand the concept very well. This is changing the game up a little bit, right? So there are certain situations I see a lot of people just holding on to boost, and if they have the ball, they're doing a bunch of chops, they're doing a bunch of this, that, and the third, and it's just burning out meter. People will even run with the ball and just be running. Now, first off, if you're just base running with the ball, you're not moving at your top speed. You have to push the ball in order to be able to move at your top speed with it. That does make it vulnerable, and gives opponents an option to try and take it from you. But this is the fastest. It'll allow you to move at your top speed with the ball when you're doing that. But you see how much meter I burn? So if we're talking about the option of, okay, they one or two, one on the left, one on the right, and they go right, you want to be just kind of moving around. Like you can just base run. Like, you'd be surprised, like the character base, he already jogs, which actually gets you pretty decent speed. Obviously not as fast as someone boosting, but you're not slow walking. You're not slow walking, but this maintains your speed while still moving at a decent pace. So I think just moving in general without using your boost, just pump off the gas a little bit, just pull back on the gas a little bit until the right moment when you know you need it. So I usually will play backfield, right? A lot of times I'll be in these situations and I'll just wait, I'll just be moving around, and then as soon as I see it go in a direction that I predicted, boom, I've hit my boost, I can catch up, and then I can cut the ball off. And more often than not, I actually can get it, depending on the situation. One more scenario that I do want to go over that I think is very important, this deals with passing the ball. Say you have a defender on you, right? They want to apply more pressure to you for whatever reason. Maybe you've been scoring too much, you've been getting the ball too much, so what happens? They stick 2 extra defenders on you. You now have 3 people trying to make sure you don't get the ball, right? The way I see it, if I have 3 defenders on me, one of those people is already designated to mark me, right? More than likely. The other 2 who are adding on the extra pressure have now left whoever it was that they were originally marking. What does that mean? You now have 2 options in which you could send the ball, right? So instead of, let's say the ball is coming to you, right? We want to, and this is just a strategy, it's just a play. The ball can come to you, everyone knows it's coming to you, but boom, instead of you dropping the ball down, locking the ball down, you send it off to someone who's not being defended because the 2 extra defenders are on you. So those little things, like little bits of information like that, can give you an edge when it comes to playing this game. I see a lot of people trying to blue lock their way out of situations. They're trying to cut and they're trying to rainbow flick this and trying to be cute, bounce it off the wall, and then they get the ball stolen. And it happens more often than not, especially at the rank that I'm at. Not that you can't cut your way out of that, but you kind of have to know what you're doing. You do have to practice that more often, right? You have to make sure that you know what you're doing when you're doing that. So sometimes the best option is to just give the ball to someone else. The idea is to move the ball up into the goal together, right? So maybe sometimes just when the ball's coming your way, send it out to someone who you know is open. That's it for me. If you think I missed anything when it comes to passing and receiving, leave it in a comment down below. I'm going to start scheduling streams every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to come and chop it up, feel free to show some love. Link will be in the description, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.